traveling the country talking about things like fracking and mobilizing communities is because right here I learned how. I learned how to break down social norms, how to communicate a message I needed out to a community. And when we got back to Blackpool, my sister and I, after occupying and living in a tent at -7 degrees, we got back and found out we'd had earthquakes and there was fracking about to start. Fortunately, we were freshly occupiers and we got the hang of how to do this stuff, having never done it before, and we started to mobilize within our community, got together with some residents' action groups, and so far have been reasonably outstandingly successful. We've had 4 years of fighting fracking in the country. We've set up camps all over the country that stop trucks from progressing. Back in 2012, the fracking company said they expected to be in full production by 2015. There isn't a single well in production, and nor has there been a proper fracture since 2011. That's down to the strength of the communities all across the country. That I think that no matter how you look at it, Occupy did change the conversation. People say, well, what happened? What happened since? Well, what happened since was that the people who came here and camped and learnt and grew and discovered each other went forth and went back to their communities. And I think a lot of us got active. I go to various actions across the country and I find occupiers at all of them. So just because we're not on the steps of St. Paul's doesn't mean we went away anywhere. Where we are, we occupied a field last year. We were sick of the press saying we were domestic terrorists and eco-campaigners and climate warriors, because the reason I am an activist is because I'm a grandmother. This is the reason I'm an activist. Not just concerned about the planet, but why would I care about the planet? Well, because I've populated it and I'd like it to last for them and hand it back in good condition. So we set up a group called the Nanas, which meant every time they quoted us on telly, they couldn't say eco-activists, they had to say Tina, Louise, Nana, and we won. And we finally got to be recognized for the reason we're activists, rather how they chose to label us. Coming up in December is one of the most important meetings for the world in the COP21 discussions where, okay, how much hope do we really hold for a good decision coming out of all the leaders getting together? Not necessarily a lot of hope, but I think where we find our hope is in what we find across the country and across Europe and across the world, is the unity of communities coming together to make sure that they are heard at these talks, that it is the people who are heard and not just the corporations and the lobbyists and the government ministers and those with the power. So that's the purpose of gatherings, and I think that Occupy set an example, it set a precedent. We put up with an awful lot of bad media, an awful lot of hard conditions, some terrible policing. But since then we've grown and we've learned, and I'd like to think that a lot of other people have too. So when it comes to December and you see on the news that there are things happening, then understanding there's some part you could play in that. And maybe before that, November 29th, we have a major march here in London where lots and lots of people are going to be coming. We're hoping for a good few 100,000. So if you could be in London on the 29th of November, that would be fantastic. Just to let the governments know, you will not be silenced and told that this is going to happen to your country, that you will be put at risk, your air and water will be put at risk. We're not asking anyone to save a planet because that's a big ask for any individual. What we're asking you to do is stand for your community. And one of the easiest ways we transport that message is with fracking. Because fracking is a clear and present danger to your community. The new licensing block came out, over 65% of the country is up for fracking. It does affect your air and water, it does put methane into the atmosphere, and it does pollute groundwater. These things are risks you cannot turn away from that make you an activist if you choose to get up and do something about it. So thanks to Pete putting it together today. Yeah.